Hey guys, welcome back to ResTube. I'm Danny Riggs.
And I'm Jules.
And today we have something very, very special planned for you. And so I'm going to entrust the camera over to my lovely wife. Today we're very glad to be able to bring you the very first interview here on ResTube. And that interview is with none other than Walter Robotka of Klaggalerie Records. If you don't know Klaggalerie, you really should. You might have seen me unbox one of their products not long ago, Oddities by Bob Uck and the Family Truck. Klaggalerie has been around since 1997 and was a continuation of the label that Walter had before, Syntactic, that was founded in 1993 and was also well known for limited editions of, let's say, more obscure music. Today, of course, we are going to be talking with Walter about his work with Hardy Fox and also with the Residents. And so, to get the ball rolling, I'd just like to know, Walter, when did you first become aware of the Residents?
I was first aware of the Residents during the 13th anniversary show. I was a teenager then, and I met some people who knew all about independent alternative music, and one of the guys just took me along to the 13th anniversary show, and because of this, I guess that show will always be very dear to me and have a very special place in my heart. It was the show that featured Snakefinger on guitar, and they had the dancers and all kinds of costumes, and it was completely unique, not only because I hadn't seen anything like it, but also because it was the first rock concert I ever went to.
So, Walter, can you tell us what was the first Residents project you remember liking?
The first project that I liked naturally was the 13th anniversary show. When the album came out, I really liked the artwork and I really liked the music. And it is to this day, it is one of my favorite records. It's because, you know, it was the first one, and the first one is always special. Not long afterwards, I remember Klaggalerie came out, and I was very surprised that they'd done something as commercial as Klaggalerie. And I really loved it, and I remember playing it to all my schoolmates all the time, and I'm not sure what they thought about it. And I also remember at the same time Hambu Hodo, the 12-inch by Ronaldo and the Loaf came out, and I had those on my Sony Walkman 24/7.
So, I'm guessing you really saw a lot of Residents live shows, right?
I saw quite a lot of live shows, starting with the 13th anniversary show. I then saw, I can't remember all of them, but I definitely saw Demons Dance Alone and Icky Flix. And the time around Icky Flix and Demons Dance Alone, they came to Vienna like every year. And I was at all these shows. I also saw all the recent ones, and it's become a nice hobby in non-pandemic times to fly somewhere in Europe to see a Residents show. So for example, we flew to Hamburg and to Prague and to Paris for the last 3 tours, and it's always a nice kind of mini holiday, and we meet up with Homer Flynn and with the Residents before the show and have a chat or meet at somebody's place. And yeah, it's something that I miss very much, and I hope that 2022 will bring them back to Europe and that we can meet up again.
So can you tell us, when did you first meet the Residents and how did your collaboration start?
I started working with the Residents during the reissue program for Ronaldo and the Loaf. We came to a point where Title in Limbo was to be released next, and Brian Poole actually contacted the Residents and asked for their permission for us to do it. And permission was granted, so we did that. And I first got in contact with Hardy Fox, and we started talking. We started exchanging emails, and you know, over the course of the years, Hardy once said, if you put all the emails that we send to each other next to each other, then it would be a line that leads sort of to the moon. So you know, it ended up being like 20, 30 emails a day, just bouncing back and forth. And the first time I met Hardy in person was actually very late. I only met him once, unfortunately. And Hardy came to visit us in Vienna, or near Vienna, as you can see here. This is where we live, you know, this is just outside of our house. And Hardy and his husband came to meet us with a couple of friends, and we spent an incredibly nice week together. And we went wine sampling, and we went for dinner, and we made them dinner, and we met for walks, and we went to a lot of cafes. So it was a fabulous time, because it was not during a tour but a strictly private thing. So that was immensely enjoyable.
What was it like working with Hardy Fox?
What was it like working with Hardy is very simply answered. It was pure pleasure. Hardy is an incredible person to work with, because he is extremely fast. He is 100% reliable, and he's 100% professional. Hardy was so fast that, when we talked about projects for ideas for a new album, we would come up with an idea, say for example an album of cover versions of the Residents, and then he would say, what songs do you propose? And so I suggested some songs, and then he suggested some songs. And during the course of a day, he would sometimes send me 3 finished songs. And the same goes for the artwork. Hardy was, as you can see with reissues that we've been doing, we have several covers for nearly every single release. Hardy made so many images, and he's got he used to have an image bank from which he pulled images. And so he just collected things, and whenever he found appropriate use, he would use them and send them over. And since Hardy's death, we are in possession of that image bank. We have some finished artworks that we use for releases, and we have all the images from his image library. So we try to stay as close to Hardy's style as possible, and we try to make the covers in a way that we think he would like them. And Lisa does all this, she layouts everything, she puts things together. She does this for other bands too, but also for the Residents and for Hardy stuff. And yeah, it's wonderful to have all his work, because we try to keep his work alive as much and as long as we can, and always come up with something new.
And which one is your favorite Charles Bobick or Hardy Fox release?
I think I like everything Hardy's ever done, be it with the Residents or as a solo artist, or under one of his many project monikers. I think my all-time favorite solo release is the self-titled Hardy Fox album, sometimes also called Heart. It was after Hardy had changed his performing name from Charles Bobick to Hardy Fox. I said to him, with a new name we need a new style too, and Hardy started doing something very electronic, and I said maybe you should strip it down a bit, because it still sounds like Charles Bobick stuff. So he stripped it down, but he stripped it down so much that I said maybe you should add a bit more. And this was the way that we worked together, and it was just great fun. And I think that what he's come up with in the end, the songs on the Hardy Fox album, is the best thing he's ever done, as a solo artist. I think it's absolutely amazing. And I also think that of all the Bobick and Hardy Fox releases, Charles Bobick Plays the Residents is highly underrated. To my complete surprise, it's one of the albums of his that sell least, and I think this is completely undeservedly. I think it should be a top seller. It's purely fantastic. I think some of the versions are much better than the original Residents versions.
Didn't you play trumpet on one release?
Playing trumpet on one of the releases, yes I did, in Hardy's Dream, and they said it was very good, and you can hear what it sounds like on the CD.
Now to the question I'm sure you're anticipating. What can you tell us about Hardy Fox's decision to drop the Charles Bobick name and reveal himself as the man behind the music?
Hardy's decision to leave the Residents, that's the question I get asked most of all. Hardy was very unhappy with the Charles Bobick name given to him, and he had the feeling that towards the end of his career he had to be removed from the Residents' history. He didn't want to be the guy that used to be in the Residents. He wanted to be somebody, he wanted to be himself, somebody else, and it was a painful and very long process for him to become Hardy Fox. I remember that when he worked with Charles Bobak, you know, this was the time when he came to Vienna, and we talked for many days about it, and he was very worried, you know, how people would react if he sort of came out as Hardy Fox, but he was also very fed up with being Charles Bobak, ex-residence. So after a very long process and a very painful process, he decided to be himself from now on. You know, he announced at a dinner at our place that from now on he would be recording as Mr. Fox. I even have some cover images for an album by Mr. Fox. But I think there was like a British band or something in the 60s that was called Mr. Fox. So he changed the name from Mr. Fox to Hardy Fox. And you know that he also wrote his kind of autobiography, you know, come novel, a mixture of fact and fiction, where he explains a bit about it. And it is a terrible shame that he wasn't able to record more under his own name, because I think he found a new style and he found a new way of expressing himself. There should be a lot more, you know, because I mean, everything that's coming out now, there is still a lot to come out. It's from the archives. But I can't even think of what great stuff Hardy would, you know, come up with where he's still alive.
Is it true he left you all his unreleased music?
Hardy told me before he died that he would leave all his archive to me. So we do have all his image bank, and we do have all the music he left. Hardy found a lot of the stuff that he had in his archive a big burden. You know, the stuff that wasn't given to MVD and Cherry Red, which was nearly everything, but there was some live recordings and stuff, and so a lot of that stuff was just deleted and is gone forever. All the rest is in our archive now, and there is a lot of good stuff still waiting to be released. There's also like a lot of music that he made for other purposes. For example, you know, Hardy sent me a birthday song one year, and then before he died, he sent me a goodbye song. So that obviously this kind of stuff is never going to be released. But there is also a lot of stuff that is going to be released. Yeah, it's coming out one after the other, and we hope you like it as much as we do.
So, what can we look forward to in the future?
You can look forward to a lot in the future. There's a lot of stuff still waiting to be released. There's even some Residents unreleased stuff. And there's all this stuff coming out on MVD and Cherry Red, you know, all the stuff from Hardy's archive. There will also be more Hardy Fox solo recordings, and there will be more Residents reissues. And who knows what else is going to come out. I really, you know, I haven't even gone through all of it. You know, there's a lot of material, and we look forward to sharing it with everybody.
Are there any stories or anecdotes you feel like sharing with us?
Anecdotes. I remember one anecdote in particular where Brian Poole and me were swimming in a lake in Austria when on one of Brian's visits. We sent a picture of it to Hardy, us in the sea, and I remember Hardy immediately erased all the beach stuff and I think he called the image Lost at Sea and used it for a newsletter, and it was a very funny moment for us. This is the way that Hardy would work, you know, extremely spontaneously and with a lot of humor, and yeah. Other anecdotes I've already told you, you know, like changing the name from Mr. Fox to Hardy Fox, etc. Yeah.
If I ask you to describe Hardy Fox using one word, what would it be?
Now then he asked me to describe Hardy Fox in one word, and you know, if it's a personal message, then the one word has to be he was a friend. And I think this is what made our relationship so special. We didn't do nerd talk or anything. We were just good friends. And yeah, we all miss him dearly. Bye.
Well, guys, thanks for tuning in. And thanks for joining us on our little walk and talk. And if you enjoyed what you see, please hit subscribe and like. You can find me on Instagram, on Facebook, and on Twitter. An extra special thank you to Walter and to Lisa Robotka for taking time out of their day to actually do this. So, I guess you guys just stay weird, stay healthy, and we'll see you back next time for the next episode of ResTube.